The desert was strangely quiet that evening, too quiet for a land that usually hummed with cicadas and shifting wind. Rancher Luke Harlow felt that silence deep in his bones as he rode home. It wasn't the kind of quiet that followed peace. No, this felt like the world holding its breath, waiting. That's when he saw her. A young Apache girl, maybe 18, barefoot, bruised, and trembling, stood in the dying sunlight. Her long black hair blew across her face like a torn banner, and her eyes were wide with the kind of fear that didn't come from coyotes or snakes, fear born of humans. "Please," she whispered before her knees buckled. "Please don't leave me here." Luke dropped from his horse and caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin burned like fire from days under the sun, and her ribs felt too sharp, too visible. She clung to him with the last flicker of strength she had. "If you walk away," she gasped, "I won't survive the night." Luke didn't know her story yet, didn't know her name, didn't know what danger she carried on her shadow. But he knew one thing, he couldn't leave her. Not here, not like this. He lifted her into his arms and whispered, "You're safe now." But in the Wild West, safety was never simple. Her name was Taya. When she awoke inside Luke's small ranch house, her first sound was a panicked gasp. She shot up so fast she nearly fell off the cot. Luke stepped back, hands raised in peace. "No one will hurt you here," he said softly. For a moment, she studied him, searching his face for cruelty, for greed, for the same darkness that had chased her across the desert. But she found nothing. Just a tired rancher with honest eyes and dust on his boots. And for the first time in days, Taya let herself breathe. She ate slowly, as if every bite might disappear. She drank water like it was treasure. When she could finally speak, her voice was steady but carried the weight of everything she'd endured. "My people were taken," she said. "A band of outlaws raided our camp. Most escaped, but they captured me. I fled when their horses faltered near the cliffs. They're looking for me again." Luke listened without once interrupting her. She expected judgment. She expected fear. She expected him to throw her out for the trouble she brought. Instead, he simply nodded. "Rest. You're safe here until you decide where you want to go." No man had ever offered her freedom without asking for something back. And that was how the bond began. Days turned into a week. Taya helped around the ranch as her strength returned, tending to the chickens, fetching water, mending old leather reins. Luke tried to convince her to rest more, but she would only smile, a small, quiet smile that held far more depth than her youth suggested. "I must give back," she said. "You saved me." But the truth was deeper. She didn't want to feel useless, broken, or fragile. She wanted to feel alive. Luke respected that. In return, she respected him, not for strength or the ranch he owned, but for the humanity he carried in the way he spoke, worked, and simply existed. He never touched her without permission. Never asked more than she offered. Never pried into the horrors she'd survived. To Taya, who'd known a world where women, especially Apache women, were treated as property or prizes, Luke was something rare. A man who expected nothing from her. Which is why the feelings blooming inside her heart scared her more than the outlaws who hunted her. As summer deepened, danger moved closer. Luke noticed boot tracks near the creek, fresh ones. A small fire pit still smoking by the rocks. Taya's face went pale when she saw the tracks. "They're here," she said softly. "They want to take me again." Luke tightened his jaw. "Not while I'm breathing." But the outlaws weren't just looking for her. They were angry, furious that she escaped, furious that an outsider now sheltered her. They came at night. 3 gunslingers, their shadows moving like wolves through the dim light. Luke was ready, rifle in hand, boots planted firmly on his porch. When the first man stepped out of the dark with a cocky smirk and demanded he hand over the girl, Luke didn't hesitate. "She's under my protection," Luke said. "And you'll leave with nothing but your lives if you go now." They didn't. The gunfight was quick and violent, bullets cracking through the night, sparks flying off iron. Luke took a shot to the arm, one outlaw fell, another fled bleeding into the brush, and the last dropped his pistol when Taya appeared behind Luke, bow drawn with a fierce precision he'd never seen. For a moment, silence returned, the dangerous kind. The outlaws ran. Taya dropped the bow, chest heaving, tears spilling not from fear but from the realization of how close she'd come to losing the only safe place she'd known. She rushed to Luke, gripping his face with trembling hands. "You fought for me," she whispered, her voice breaking. Not because you want me, not because you own me, but because you believe I matter. Luke tried to speak, but she shook her head. No man has ever done that for me. Not one. She pressed her forehead to his. I belong with a man like you. Luke froze, not out of rejection, but out of awe. He'd saved many in his life, strangers, travelers, neighbors, but none had looked at him the way she did now, with gratitude wrapped in something deeper, something like devotion. Taya, he said softly, you don't owe me anything. She smiled through her tears. That's why I choose you. But choices, in the Wild West, were fragile things. Word spread fast. A rancher had taken in a young Apache girl and fought off outlaws to protect her. Some townsfolk admired him. Others whispered. Prejudice brewed in quiet corners, men muttering over mugs of whiskey that Luke was ruining himself over a wild girl. Taya tried to stay invisible, but whispers travel on winds. One evening, when Luke found her packing a small bundle of belongings, she flinched. I should go, she said. People blame you. I don't want to be the reason you lose your home, your safety, everything. Luke stepped forward and gently took her hands. You think I brought you here out of charity? He asked. You think I protected you because I felt sorry? Taya's eyes lowered. I think you deserve a simple life. A safe one. I am not simple, and danger follows me. Luke lifted her chin. I don't want a simple life. I want one that means something. Her breath caught. You mean something, Taya. It was the first time anyone had spoken to her as if she were more than a burden, more than a survivor, more than a girl running from violence. She was hope. She was purpose. She was a future. The final challenge came when the outlaw leader returned, alone this time, wounded pride burning in his eyes. He tried to sneak into the barn where Taya gathered hay. Luke intercepted him. The fight was brutal, fists breaking against flesh and bone. Taya grabbed the fallen outlaw's knife to help Luke, but instead of using it, she threw it aside and shouted for him to stop. No more killing, she begged. We end this with honor. Something in her voice, pain mixed with courage, made Luke freeze. The outlaw staggered away into the desert, defeated not by force but by mercy. And when the sun rose the next morning, the danger was finally gone. The land felt quiet again, but this time, it was the kind of quiet born from peace. Taya stood on the porch beside Luke, watching the horizon turn gold. He glanced at her, unsure what future she imagined now that she was free to choose any path. But she slipped her hand into his. I don't know much about the world beyond my tribe, she said softly. But I know this, my heart rests when I'm with you. Luke wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close, careful, gentle. And mine rests with you, he replied. She leaned her head against his chest. I belong with a man like you. Not because he saved her. Not because he sheltered her. But because he saw her not as a rescued girl, but as an equal, a partner, a soul brave enough to walk through fire and still believe in goodness. And that was the heart of the West, where love was never simple, but always earned through courage. The ranch became her home. Luke became her family. And together, they carved out a life that no whisper, no outlaw, and no prejudice could erase. A life built not on protection, but on mutual strength, respect, and a love fierce enough to survive the frontier.